These markets that we are about to learn from today onwards, they actually tell you when is there going to be peace and when is there going to be a war. Because these markets are based on numbers which basically move on human psyche, human sentiment, human traits like greed, which is another word for it is avarice, which is fear, which is euphoria. Okay, everything is going to be fine now and things are going to be better, and the prices move up. When there is fear, the prices move down. When there is no news in the market, prices consolidate. When an event, a geopolitical event, like the war which just recently took place between Iran and Israel, that is reflected in the most important commodity that the world today needs, oil. So that oil price, if you are able to study and have developed the instinct over a period of time looking at these markets, you can predict that something is going to happen. Because when there is fear that a certain supply of a commodity, such as an essential commodity as crude oil, is going to be hampered, is going to be stopped, there will be a spike in prices. Because everybody rushes in, like here, because at PSO, supply is going to be reduced. You know, uh, supply nahi aa rahi. So what do you guys do? You queue yourself in front of the petrol stations. Lines lag jati hain. Cars, bikes, and everything. So similarly, this is what happens in this market as well. These markets portend what might happen in the future. They tell you what is going to happen. Now, I've been looking at this market for the past 33 years. And I was the one here, and probably there are millions of people out there in the world out there who are a lot smarter than me. But we are on the same level of synchronicity. Our thinking is the same almost, because we are attuned and we have been accustomed to this market, looking at the price action. Now, I looked at the price action. I said, a week before the Iran-Israel war, I said something is going to happen because oil prices started to move up slowly. And I said, something is wrong. Something big is going to happen. Literally, those were my words to the market participants or the people that I was training for in another office. And it did happen. Israel attacked Iran. And then Iran responded. And the prices moved up. They moved up almost $10 in the international market. You have an idea what the oil prices ka pata hai na aap logon ko? You have an idea, right? So they moved from $60 a barrel almost to $75 a barrel during this session. And you must have seen that we also increased prices in Pakistan from 255 rupees a gallon to a liter to 259. Right? So it doesn't make me a magician with a crystal ball that only I know the knowledge and I can, with a wave of a wand, I can, figure out what's going to happen. No, I am just applying some basic knowledge, methods that we will learn in these sessions, and some, instincts that you will develop, a person develops over time by looking at the price action, by looking at the sentiment of the market, what the market sentiment is going to be once something happens. Now, the oil prices spiked up, the war started, the oil prices started going up. Now, what happened yesterday? Now, remember, एक चीज आप याद रखना, जो दिखाई देता है वो होता नहीं है. What you see in front of you actually is not happening. It has already been planned accordingly. Those powers that may be that are running this financial and political system of this world, of world economics, the powers that be that have their own interest, that have ulterior motives, that are not concerned with people like us. We are fodder to them. We are gajar मूली जिसे कहते हैं उर्दू में. कि हम मर जाएं, whether we die of thirst, we die of hunger, we die with bullets, we die with bombs, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters to them is money. Money, money, money. Show me where the money is. This, the world that we live in, I'm sorry to say that, but this is the harsh reality of the world that we live in today. All that matters is money. How to create money, how to create opportunities to make money, how to consolidate power, how to get power. And absolute power, they say, corrupts. But, that is the way how this world goes. The bigger badmash, the bigger bully, is trying to rake in and consolidate his power. Now, what happened yesterday? You were all tuned into ARY News and CNN and Al Jazeera, right? Right? You were like, oh, khabar aa gayi, news aa gayi. What just happened? Iran just attacked US bases in Qatar. What have I told you? It was all planned. What have I told you? The American attack on the Iranian nuclear sites was already told to the Iranians that this is what Mr. Trump is going to do, and it was already planned, and empty the nuclear sites. So we drop a big, beautiful bomb, and Mr. Trump says, that only America can make, with big planes that can only carry that big, beautiful bomb, and drop that bomb on a big bad wolf, which is Iran, and bring that regime to surrender or to get it to say the word, peace, I give up. So it was all planned. It was all figured out. It was all on the table. It was laid out. But what they didn't plan was the response by the Iranians towards the Israelis. Iran did respond to the Israeli aggression. That, actually that was not on the script, the actual response of the Iranians. But to bring them to peace, and the Iranians also wanted to end this thing because they were running out. There were casualties on their side far greater than the Israelis. And there was a possibility there might be a regime change. Ayatollah Khomeini will be out and the son of Raza Shah Pahlavi would be in. And obviously they did not want that. And they wanted to, they acquiesced or they agreed to the American proposal, Mr. Trump's proposal, that this is how we're going to end it. You bomb empty nuclear sites where there will be no centrifuges. They will be taken out. There will be no people over there. You bomb that, throw your bunker buster bomb, and then we will just fire duds telling the Iraqi government that we are firing these missiles. So you can, through your Iron Dome or your shields, you can blow them up in the air. And voila, it all comes to an end. See, there was no casualties, as Mr. Trump is happy that no American casualties took place. This was all planned. Now, going back what the market does, what the market actually tells you, okay, this thing is over and it is not going to escalate further. Iran will not carry out further attacks on American bases in the region, and it's over. Iran wanted to register a protest of what the Americans did on the nuclear sites, and the markets eventually calculated that. Now, what happened? If you were in the market and you're looking at the market, like look at the oil prices, कि जब जंग छिड़ी है तो oil prices ऊपर जा रही हैं, एक चीज की कीमत रुक रही है, and this would be a normal assumption. But what happened yesterday was even more interesting, and that gave the plot away. What happened yesterday was, as soon as Iran fired missiles towards the US bases in Qatar, the oil price started to come down. Now, in a normal situation, you'd say, okay, this war has escalated. Now, the oil prices should go up further. But what happened? The prices started to come down because there was news that the Americans were informed by the Iranians, and the Qataris were informed, okay, this is what we are going to do. And you can shoot those missiles in the air, in the skies, and there'll be no damage done. And it was decided. And the market had priced in this news, priced in कि उसके अंदर वो चीज एक आ गई, it started to discount itself into that price action. Okay, this is it. The war is going to end after this. They have decided. And oil prices started to come down from $75 a barrel, $76 a barrel, and right now they're trading at $66 a barrel. $10 to $11 the price of oil has come down today because it's all over. Mr. Trump has come out trumps. This is how these markets behave, and this is how you can predict what's going to be. This is how people make money. Okay, as soon as an event came to an end, the price of oil started to come down. People immediately, those who had bought oil at lower prices in the previous weeks, they started to take profit, number one. Immediately, people who realized, who did not have a position in the market, who had not bought anything, they started to short sell. Of short sell, I will tell you what is short selling over the course of this course. Okay, something that you borrow from someone and knowing that, confirm that the price is going to go down, you promise that someone, okay, I will return your original amount along with some interest, some for you, and I will, without actually owning anything, you carry out a short sell trade. आपके पास वो चीज़ होती नहीं है, लेकिन आप उसको देखते हुए किसी से पैसे बोरो करके उस चीज़ को सेल कर देते हैं मार्केट में. So this is what short selling is in simple terms. But we will go into the details what actually is short selling over these tutorials that I'm doing with you. Now this is what happened yesterday. So the basic thing is that this is how markets are. They tell you what eventually is going to take place. And when the oil prices started coming down, Mr. Trump, you know that there's going to be peace. And today Israel said there's no more war with Iran. Trump said there is peace now. I should be given the Nobel Peace Prize because I, stopped the war between India and Pakistan. And then now I stopped Iran and Israel war as well. Trump साहब की बाबा, जय जयकार. ठीक, तो हमारी government, our government is also, is justified in saying, we are justified that we nominated Mr. Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. See, the peacemaker. But there is always a cost. The cost is 300 to 400 Iranians dead, some Israelis killed in Israel. So go back to my beginning that I said that we are just fodder. We are Gajar and Mooli to these people. What matters most is money. The Saudis, get to sell their oil in the market. Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed by the Iranians, which is a passage, where Iran is right on the neck of it. And the countries that export oil from the Strait of Hormuz are Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and all these countries. They send their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. So there'll be no stoppage of oil supply to the world, and everybody is happy because their revenues, their profits, their money-making, conduits are secure and safe. जाने जाती हैं तो चली जाए. So this is what this actually, the whole game of this capitalistic system, which encourages that earning profit in no matter what way is okay. It is not an ideal system, but it is the system that we are living in now. Right? Now we come to the basics of what is modern economics. And there's a term in economics known as econometric. Don't be scared of this word. कोई डरने की चीज नहीं है. It is just econo from economy, metric like metric tons, weight in kilograms or weight in pounds, height in centimeters or height in inches. It is just a metric. Now, what is economics, modern economics? Modern economics आपको क्या बताती है? What does it tell you? Well, modern economics is the allocation of limited resources. Basic definition of modern economics that I'm giving you right now is the allocation of limited resources. Those limited resources are skilled labor, capital investment, which is in machinery or factory, or in agriculture, it is the plowing machines and the tractors and the produce from the land, like crops, fruits, vegetables, and everything. It is these are the things which are limited. And capital as in money. Capital, we call it as the human capital as well. We call it money, which is also called capital as well. Capital we also call these infrastructure of buildings and machineries, that is also. So we are allocating these limited resources to in order what we should produce, what the economy, economy of that country should produce, how to produce it, and for whom to produce it. For whom there are people, the different demographics, the young adults, the elder people, the babies, and everything, for which market segment to choose from and what to produce, for whom to produce. This is the basic definition of modern economics. Now, in economics, there is a term, as I said, they're called econometrics. Now, what is econometrics? It's not rocket science, not a rocket science, not difficult. Econo from economy, metric, as I said, from measurements like in height, weight, or Ohm's law, Ohm in resistance in physics. Similarly, metric in in economics are basically a statistical tinkering, statistical method of applying it to the empirical data, the observed data, जो आपके पास already data that is available to you. And from that data, we estimate what might a certain indicator be. For example, what might be the value of the gross domestic product, after a quarter or after a year. So what comes, for example, that is on the macro level, the gross domestic GDP is on the macro level. On the micro level, we might say we use these same statistical methods to evaluate what the worth of an individual company might be. Now, there are different topics that we will discuss in this as well. Okay, how do you evaluate the worth of a company? Its share price, its earnings, its debt ratios, how much it owes to its creditors, things like that. Similarly, what the worth of a certain country's currency will be. Why is the currency of one country is weaker to another? So, factors that are involved in determining the value of the currency, we will discuss that, which is interest rates, Sharai Sood, which is the demand of that currency. The demand of a currency depends upon what that country produces. The technology or the product or the service, what it is worth to the rest of the world. कि पूरी दुनिया के लिए वो मुल्क क्या बना रहा है, उसकी वर्थ क्या है. वो आपके और मेरे इस्तेमाल में आएगी चीज़? Is it usable? Is it practical? Is it you know safe to be used? It is. Will it work in the future? Things like these determine the value of that currency of the particular country. Right? Things like these we will discuss. ठीक है? Now, for example, I said in econometrics we can measure that by a statistical method, we can look at the observed data and we can tell you about what a GDP might be. Now, I asked you in the last session, I think on Friday, I asked, look at the basic definition of GDP, just to give you an idea what might GDP is. What is GDP? GDP is gross domestic product. Now, what it is comprised of? Board niche hai. Well, I'll just point it out over here. Well, GDP is basically involves government expenditure, investment in factories, industries, agriculture, all sorts of investment, commercial real estate used for producing services and products. Then there is consumption, the total dollar cost or rupee cost of what consumers consume, how many iPhones or Samsung phones that you're buying, how many televisions, how many laptops or computers that people have bought, the consumption they have consumed, how many food items that you have consumed, खा खा के मोटे हो गए लेकिन फिर भी खाते जा रहे हैं. This comes into consumption. And then it is exports, what the country actually exports, sends, as I said, that valuable product or a service that is so valuable to other countries as well, what it exports to the world, minus what it imports from the world. So these basically are the components of GDP. Now, in this market, every quarter is basically of 3 months, January, February, March, and every year, after a year, after 12 months, these statistics are, these, as I said, are basically brought out by private surveys, and the actual number is given by eventually the government itself. Like our State Bank of Pakistan says, okay, from last year, our growth, our GDP is 2.4% or 2.3%. Slightly better than last year, which was 1.8%. So they do all this calculation and they give out the actual number. Prior to the actual number, people in institutions like ours or in investment firms, in all these economists, they try to predict how close they are going to be to that actual number given by the government. So they apply all these things. Okay, how much investment is done, how much consumption was taken, what is the net exports, net, what was it, a trade surplus or a trade deficit, what is the net consumption, what was the government expenditure. They they look at all these statistics, combine them together and give you an estimate of what might a GDP be after a certain quarter or a certain year. Now, why is this important? It may seem boring to you. It is important because the markets look at these numbers and they buy or sell a certain currency of that country based on these numbers. They buy and sell the trade in the stock market of that country and buy shares in companies of that country. Right? They buy and sell the bonds of that country based on the strength or the value of its GDP. Right? So this GDP is basically the basic, the fundamental stone, the foundation of how the markets might react to all these markets, the bond market, the currency market, the stock market. This basically is what this course is going to be. Now, I've given you an idea what GDP is, right? Okay. Now, further on in this course, okay, what determines the value of a currency, for example, the US dollar, is basically the monetary policy of that country. We will learn about what is monetary policy, which is laid out by the central bank of that country. जैसे हमारा स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान है. In America, it is Federal Reserve Bank of America. In Europe, it's the European Central Bank, the ECB. In UK, it is the Bank of England. The UK, it lays out the UK monetary policy. Now, these people, basically, they lay out what the rate of interest, riba, is going to be for the rest of the world, for all the Muslim world and the Muslim people. Right? Even you have a beard this long or whatever who you are, but you will pay riba, my friend. You will not get away from it because this is their system. All right? So, because we abandoned, as I said, when she asked what is the alternate? The alternate was what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave. The Islamic economic framework that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us. Fair practices, fair trade practices, fair prices, and for us to give zakat. These are the basic core elements of Islam that we did not follow, and now this Western capitalist system, we are slaves to it now. Do you know, every one of you, आप कहते हैं ना कि slavery, गुलामी खत्म होगी, slavery, they were slaves, and they brought slaves from Africa to the cotton fields in America or other countries, and there's no more slavery. There is slavery still. We are slave to this system. We are indebted slaves made by this capitalistic system of interest. IMF is the example of it. Now, why is GDP important to the IMF? Countries that have a higher GDP and their currency is in more demand by the rest of the world because you do most of your buying and selling from that country, and that country has a bigger military than anybody else and be a bigger badmash, the bigger bully, that country has a quota for it. Since that its currency is required more to trade from that country, उसकी currency की demand भी ज़्यादा है. For example, the US dollar. So the Americans would have a bigger quota in the IMF lending pool of money. The money that IMF lends to the rest of the countries, America has a lot bigger quota in it because of its reserve currency status, because of its GDP, which is approximately now 29.9 trillion US dollars. But their debt is a lot higher now, right now. It's $34 trillion. China, total GDP in dollars is somewhere around 19 to 20 trillion or $22 trillion as of now, right now. Probably you can check on your screens whether I'm correct or whether I'm wrong, but that is basically is number 2. Right? So, then there is the European Union, the total European Union, the total countries in the European Union, combined their GDP, their total production of services and goods. That also is because it is a significant part of the world economy. So that is also included in the IMF pool of funds that it lends to poor countries like ours that are struggling. Basically, it's all we are not poor. Basically, हमारी ये है कि we have corruption and mismanagement. Because of corruption and mismanagement, we are in the state that we are in. Right? So these are the things that we are going to basically be studying and looking at. So I think I'll bring this session to an end. And after a break from, I think we'll start again from 3 to 4 or 2:30 to 4. Right? That's it for now. And I will get back to you after a certain, after the break. And I will then write down the topics, basically, what the kind of data, kind of, what things that we need to study to understand these markets. We will talk about banking as well. What is banking? Right? I will tell you what banks actually do, which is not in the basic definition of your economics book, but it is the true economics which I'm basically trying to educate you. We'll tell you what banking is actually how the bank works, how it makes money, assets and liabilities, what banking is. ठीक है. So this is what we will discuss in the second session. We will look at interest rates. We will look at again if GDP of a country is forecast is nearer, it is higher, is percentage wise it has increased or percentage wise it has decreased. What impact that would have on these markets that we will basically be looking at. This will basically the what we call fundamental analysis. Fundamental. The grassroots of these economic indicators and numbers that affect the fundamentals of on a macro level, which is the country, and on a micro level, which when we look at a certain company or any other on a smaller level. All right. So that's it for now. Thank you. I will get back to you after some time. फर्स्ट सेशन में कहा था कि आपको विल टीच यू के बेसिक अब इसमें क्या है इकोनोमेट्रिक्स के बारे में आई टोल्ड यू कि व्हाट इज इकोनोमेट्रिक्स इकोनोमेट्रिक्स में यही आते हैं कि डेटा जो विच इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर एनालाइजिंग दीज फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स और दैट यू trade a commodity or a currency or you invest in a stock or anything for that matter, you require a certain data. So what are the relevant datas that you basically have to look at and compare it to the actual number given by the government? GDP is released by the government, that I said earlier. And the forecast for a GDP is already there. Forex Factory is one up. You go to the website and when you're looking at it, Forex Factory पे आता है different data आ जाते हैं उनकी forecast आ जाती है कि on Friday we are having on Thursday we are getting a GDP number. उसकी forecast GDP की percentage terms में ये आ रही है. US का GDP आ रहा है, UK का आ रहा है या पाकिस्तान का भी आ रहा है. Whatever country, uska data is time pe is waqt aa raha it is coming out. On Friday we have the non-farm payrolls coming out. Now what is non-farm payrolls? In a simple succinct manner, in a very brief manner, non-farm payrolls in America is ke excluding farm agriculture jobs and excluding that, उसको निकाल के उसको exclude करके corporate jobs and these manufacturing jobs कितने एक economy generate कर रही है within 30 days, in a month's time. So it's on a monthly basis. ये non-farm payrolls आता है and it gives the number of people who are being hired by corporations, by companies, and it also gives you the hourly wages, how many dollars they are making in 1 hour. They tell you about it, and this is what they call the non-farm payroll. The unemployment rate comes out compared to a previous quarter. January, February, March, that's a quarter, or previous year, unemployment rate, unemployment, people who do not have jobs, has that number increased or decreased? So that is called an unemployment number. So these data, they come out and they tell you on a monthly basis the job market of a certain country. ठीक? सर से गुजरे? नहीं. अच्छा. So this is in a very simple term. So these are the datas that we will now be looking at. Now, the first and foremost, as I said earlier, is the GDP. GDP is a gross domestic product. It is the number of goods and services produced in 1 year in the geographical boundaries of a country. उसकी डॉलर वर्थ जीडीपी की होती है और फिर उसको फ्रॉम ईयर टू ईयर, क्वार्टर टू क्वार्टर कंपेयर किया जाता है इन परसेंटेज टर्म्स कि वो जीडीपी इतने परसेंट कम हुआ है, इतने परसेंट ज़्यादा हुआ है, अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट टोटल नंबर, उसको परसेंटेज वाइज उसको देखा जाता है. तो इफ़ दैट जीडीपी ऑफ अ कंट्री इज इंक्रीज्ड, बड़ा है, the growth has gotten better. So what does that tell us about the economy of that country? That means the economy has gotten better. It has created more jobs. It has created more products or created more services which are more valuable to its people and the people outside its borders. So this is a number which gauges the health of the overall economy. This is what GDP is. Now, after that GDP, we look at, Friday I said, okay, please look at what is CPI. Did anybody look at CPI? Nobody did. Acha, no problem. What ke saath saath, everything improves with time. Yeah, very good. Yes, consumer price index. Now, consumer price index, very good. Beta, aapka naam? Momina. Very good, Momina. I like that. Thank you. At least someone is taking interest. So, consumer price index. What is a consumer, first of all? Are you a consumer? Are you a consumer? Yes, you are a consumer. I am a consumer. Everybody is a consumer. We consume. खाओ, जेब च पाओ, डकार मारो, घर जाओ. Consume करके मारा. We are all consumers, basically. Okay? And since we consume, when we buy something, we look at the cost or the price of what we are buying. ऐसे है ना? What if like if we don't have money in our wallet, जेब में पैसे नहीं थे, चले गए, चीज़ें खरीद. तो price देख के we look at the price and then we buy it, right? Right? Simple economics. ठीक है? And if we can afford it, then we buy it. हम afford कर सकते हैं, तब उसको, then we buy it. All right? That's consumer price index. Index basically is एक number, एक year को, एक time को, उसको एक referral बना दिया जाता है उसके against. In consumer price, एक साल हो, एक mean, एक साल लेके उसके मुताबिक ही set किया जाता है. That is what is called an index. So this is what the basic CPI stand for, Consumer Price Index. Now, if this consumer price index, as I just explained, if it goes up, then what is happening? The prices are increasing of the basic goods, of your bread, eggs, butter, daily essentials that you buy for living. If the price of those things, अंडे दूध डबल रोटी, अब समझ आ गई? If the price of those goods is increasing, what happens then? Inflation increases. Afrat-e-zar in Urdu. Inflation increases. That means, and if it keeps on growing regularly on a month-to-month basis, what happens is that your salary remains the same. It doesn't increase according to the price of goods that are increasing. That means your purchasing power is decreasing if CPI keeps going up. Why? Because it happens like your salary doesn't increase as much as inflation, as Momina just said. afrat if it keeps increasing, that your purchasing power decreases. First, you used to buy 12 eggs, a dozen, and now you buy only 10 because you can't afford the rest of the two. So you decrease your purchase. So this is an alarming situation for a government, because when people cannot afford to buy basic necessities of life. So if CPI keeps going up, what they have to do is that they would have to raise the basic interest rates, Sharai Sood, in a country to counter that inflation. Now, why is that interest rate relevant to CPI? Well, it is relevant because you have to increase the risk-free rate. For example, you put your money, since I said that money creates money, in a bank, your savings on that, return on that savings, which is paid in interest, that also has to go up. So if this goes up, if the lending or rate is increased, then you have to match the cost of the things which are being the price of the things which are basic necessities. You would have to compel the corporation owners to, for their employees' sake, that they should also raise the wages of the employees, right? So in order that when the economy is heating up and there's a lot of money chasing fewer goods, that is when the prices of goods go up. पैसा ज़्यादा है, चीज़ें थोड़ी हैं, तो क्या करेगा? जिसके पास, everybody is holding on to a monopoly of something, the price of chicken. And the thing is, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of people who want to buy chicken and they have a lot of money. What the chicken owners, the poultry owners, they do, they will increase the price of that chicken, because there's a lot of more money chasing that, so that this price goes up. So it's like, this is a basic, one thing is connected to the other. हर एक चीज दूसरी चीज से connected है, right? So this basically what happens. So if CPI goes up, the central bank eventually what has to do? It has to increase its interest rate. Now, this is CPI. Second is personal core expenditure. Well, this is important for the US Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, as I said, is the banking system of United States of America, just like our State Bank of Pakistan. What is personal core expenditure? Personal core expenditure is basically the same, is the people spending out of their pocket to get all sorts of items, necessities, luxuries, also Medicare, health insurance paid by the employee, ये भी इस चीज़ के अंदर ऐड होते हैं. जब cost of everything, when it starts rising in PCE, जब ratio बढ़ जाता है, when it starts to increase, the Fed also looks at it as an indicator for it to increase interest rates. And everything is leading to interest rates. Should I soothe? As I said, this capitalistic system is an interest-based system. And banking ki taraf, I'll come to banking, what is banking as well. So this basically what we call the data which is important to these markets. These are basically the statistics that the market players or the market participants look at when they're trying to evaluate central bank's next decision kya hogi. What will be the central bank's next decision? Whether it be to hike rates, increase the interest rate, or decrease the interest rate, right? Non-farm payrolls is done. After that, economy ke andar important data, another important data is durable goods. Durable goods, basically, what are durable goods? What does durable means? Something that lasts for a longer period of time, which is durable. Machinery orders ho gaye, tractors, plowers, or machineries that produce goods. So if these orders are increasing, that means economy is healthy, is working in a proper manner. People are using these machineries to produce goods. They are purchasing these durable goods, and the economy is doing good. So if it's a good number, that means it is good for the economy, good for the stock market, good for the currency. If it's a bad number, that means it's not good for the economy. Economy is slowing down. It's not producing much. It's bad for the currency. It's bad for the stock market. And last, we have the capacity utilization. What is capacity utilization? Capacity utilization is, are the industries or the factories which they are producing, for example, cars or whatever product they are producing, are working to full capacity. Usually 80%, 81%, good capacity, very good capacity. So if this capacity utilization is also decreased, it is bad for the economy. Increase, it is good for the economy. So these are the basic data that you have to look at when you're trying to analyze the fundamental side of this market. All right? ठीक है? समझ आ गया ना वो समझ आ गई. So this is what we are looking at. Now, also, for example, what makes a certain commodity or a product or a stock or a share price of a company, what makes it attractive to people? For a buyer, what makes it attractive? एक चीज़ आपको अच्छी क्यों लगती है? जैसे बेटा, आपका नाम क्या? अलियान. अलियान, हाँ अलियान, वो अयान है अलियान. अलियान, why did he like this watch? Because he saw that there is value in this watch. There is he liked it, he desired it, it was affordable, so it had an intrinsic value to him. That's an important word, intrinsic value. You will hear this term in this market, and further when you graduate to a level of studying options. What is intrinsic value? Intrinsic value is basically the fundamental, the value placed on a product or a service to this fundamental requirement. For example, the demand for it, its usage, its supply. These factors determine the intrinsic value. What is intrinsic value of gold? Gold, basically, it is shiny. It is worn as jewelry. It is a safe haven, because nowadays the basically a lot of wars and geopolitical situations taking place. There is a safe haven value to gold. So people buy ARY gold biscuits or Credit Suisse gold biscuits to secure their wealth. So it has an intrinsic value. This is the intrinsic value of gold. What is the intrinsic value of silver? It has an intrinsic value. Well, silver has a commercial value as well. Commercial value meaning it is used in the industry, solar panels and other products. Silver is used in the industry. Also, you have silver jewelry. So this is the intrinsic value of silver. All right. And then you come to a little bit more complex situation where you have the intrinsic value of the share price of a company, or the intrinsic value, what is the value of this company. Warren Buffett, he is an old-timer, a very astute investor, a person who runs Berkshire Hathaway, and he is good in acquiring valuable companies to his portfolio, and very astute investor. So if you have time, please, there are a number of books out by Mr. Warren Buffett. If you have time, try to get a hold of them and try to educate yourself. Now, intrinsic value in stocks is basically expected value of cash flows discounted at an appropriate rate, discounted at the risk-free rate. In simpler terms, for example, this business, which the owners have started, they are looking at the intrinsic value, the outcome of what future expectations of a cash flow they might be from this operation, and would it be feasible to invest in this if the risk-free rate, which is the interest rate, if the owner parks his money in a bank would it be feasible if it gives me a higher return than that risk-free rate? Then it is feasible to do this business. Okay? So it's the future cash flows. So छोटा सा formula that we have. Present value PV is equal to future value divided by 1 plus R over N. So this is basically the discount side of the equation. Oh, sorry. This is the risk-free rate. This is what the present value is according to the formula. This basically in a stock in a company can tell you about the intrinsic value of a share of a company. Now, the basic rule of intrinsic value is that if the market price of that share is, if the intrinsic value is below the market price of that share, that means that stock, that company is worth buying, that it is undervalued. So if the market price is below the intrinsic value, then it is a buy for that company. If the market value, the current market value, which is based on speculation and everything, is higher than the intrinsic value, that means the stock is overvalued. You will learn this with time. I will make it easier. Shayad for you guys it will be difficult, but probably the people listening to this who would watch these videos on the internet would make more sense to them. So this is the basic rule of Mr. Warren Buffett. So this is how he purchases a company based on this rule. All right. Now these are also, as I explained, these intrinsic values, the GDPs, the non-farm. These are all statistical methods for you to make an informed decision. So these are used in these market to give you the ammunition to basically understand how what the value of a certain commodity or a share should be. Now, what determines the value of a currency? Obviously, the interest rates of that country, the demand for that currency, as I said earlier, and the GDP of that country. And these basically are the factors that create demand for a currency and determine the value of that currency. So these are different data or numbers or indicators that we have to look at in order to evaluate a stock, evaluate a currency, or evaluate the price trend of a commodity. All right. Tomorrow, the day after, we'll be touching on another topic. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing. We'll be discussing fiscal policy and monetary policy in detail, and we would delve into the fact how those fiscal policies of a government, the monetary policy of a central bank, affect the bond market, the currency market, and the stock market. On Thursday, we will be doing this. So in order to give you a heads up, if you want, you can look that up yourself on the internet. You can go to your chat GPT and get some basic definitions out of it. You can write them down and we can discuss them again when we meet next time on Thursday, inshallah. All right. So thank you very much.